Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to The Rock at Home. I loved the selfies you guys sent me this past week. Lots of you took them while I was posing like that, so I thought that's kind of a cool idea, so let's keep that going. So each Sunday I'll take a minute to pose, and then you can take your selfie then, and then it looks like I'm actually posing for the picture with you. You don't have to take the selfie then if you don't want to. You can take it at another point in the video. It's totally up to you, but I'm going to do my selfie pose now, so everyone get your cameras out and get ready. Ready? Here we go. Perfect. Hopefully you had time to take a picture then, and if not, you can just rewind this video a little bit and pause it. Perfect. Okay, so don't forget to keep sending in those selfies each Sunday, and we have one more week left to memorize Romans 10 verses 10. So make sure to send that in to me before next Sunday, and then we will be starting a new verse for the next little bit. Okay, so before we get into the Bible story, we are going to go sing our song, and today we are going to be singing I'm in the Lord's Army. So let's go. Great singing, everyone. I love the cowboy version of that song. It's my favorite. Apparently there is a surfer dude version of that song as well. I'm gonna try and find it and see if we can start doing that at The Rock. Okay, so it is time for our Bible lesson, and today we are learning about who Jesus is. Emphasis on the who. And so while Jesus was on earth, lots of people were very curious about who he was. They were always asking, who is this man? What is he doing here? Even the disciples were like, who is this? And people ask that question all the time, and we're trying to figure out who he was. Now, what are some ways that we figure out who somebody is? Have you ever thought about that before? I think one way that we figure out who someone is by watching them. Sounds kind of creepy, but by observing what they do. Their actions tell us a lot about who they are. And then second, we listen to what other people say about them and what they call them to figure out who they are as well. So I'm going to give you some examples of this. I'm going to give you some examples of some people, and we're not going to watch what they do, but we're going to imagine that we're watching what they do, and then imagine listening to what people say about them to try to figure out who they are. So it's kind of like a mystery, and you guys got to figure out the clues. So we have to use our imaginations a lot again today, so I need you to close your eyes. And I want you to picture that you're at your house and you're looking out the front window, or maybe if you don't have a front window, you're looking out your front door, and you see a man walking on the sidewalk, and you wonder, I wonder who this guy is, because he's not one of your neighbors or one of your friends. You don't recognize him, so you're wondering, what is he doing in this neighborhood? So first thing we're going to do is watch and observe what he does. So you're watching him, and he walks up to the big mailbox mailbox for your neighborhood, which is like kind of normal. Lots of people go up to the mailbox to get their mail. But he pulls out a key and he opens the whole thing so he has access to everybody's mailboxes, and he starts pulling letters and packages out of his bag that he has and putting them in all the different mailboxes. Do you think you maybe know who this person is based off of their actions? Okay, well, if you don't, here's one more clue. Then one of your neighbors comes out of their house and they're getting ready to go on their morning walk, and they see the man and they say, "Oh, good morning, Mr. Mailman," and then they walk away. So we've first observed what this person did by looking at his actions. Second, we listened to what someone said about them. So now we know that this person, who we were wondering who it was, is a mailman, right? Okay, we're gonna do one more example. I need you to get into your imagination again. But this time I want you to imagine that you are at the local pool and there's tons of people swimming. There's some people eating ice cream, some people laying out on the chairs enjoying the sun, some people jumping off the diving board. It's a really fun time. And you see this woman who's walking kind of along the side of the pool, and she's watching everyone very carefully. And you're wondering, who is this woman? And then she climbs up onto this really tall chair that has like a nice big sun umbrella under it, still watching everyone very closely. Do you think you know who it is based off of her actions? Okay, well, if you don't yet, here's another clue. All of a sudden, you hear this little boy yell, "Help, help, I need help." And then someone says, "We need a lifeguard." And this woman jumps off of the tall chair and jumps into the pool and starts helping this little boy. Okay, do you think you know who it is now? Well, we've observed her actions, we've listened to what someone said, and we heard them call her a lifeguard, and then she came and she helped, so she's probably a lifeguard, right? Who's helping out at the pool, making sure that everyone's safe. So, these are all ways that we figure out who someone is. And in today's story, the disciples learn more about who Jesus is. And we also learn more about who Jesus is by reading about what he did, his actions, and also reading about what people said about him. So let's watch today's video to find out more about who Jesus is.
One day, Jesus led 3 of his disciples, Peter, James, and John, up on a high mountain to pray. The disciples fell fast asleep. As Jesus prayed, his appearance suddenly changed. His face was shining like the sun, and his clothes were as white as the light. The disciples woke up and saw Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you want, I will set up 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While Peter was still speaking, a bright cloud suddenly covered them. A voice from the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." The disciples heard this and fell face down. They were terrified. Jesus came up and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When the disciples looked up, they did not see Moses or Elijah anymore. They only saw Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus said to them, "Don't tell anyone what you saw until the Son of Man is raised from the dead." The disciples did not tell anyone, but they wondered what Jesus meant. They asked him, "Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come before the Messiah comes?" Jesus explained that Elijah had already come. That is, a prophet like Elijah had come. The people did not recognize him as a prophet, and they mistreated him. Jesus said, "In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples realized Jesus was talking about John the Baptist. Jesus showed his glory to Peter, James, and John. Jesus said he would die, rise from the dead, and return to heaven. One day, Jesus will come back to earth in his glory to make all things new.
Wow, that is a pretty crazy story. Can you imagine if you were one of those three disciples and you're just taking a little nap on the side of the mountain and then you wake up and you just see Jesus is like glowing. He's like shining so bright, almost so bright that you have to like close your eyes. And then there are these two other random people there and you wonder like, how did they get there? That would have been so crazy. And this story is called Jesus Revealing His Glory. And today's Questions from Kids video is going to talk more about God's glory and what that means. But Jesus was revealing who he was to these three disciples, to John, James, and Peter, who he brought up on the mountain with him. And Jesus was the Son of God. And you may be wondering to yourself, okay, Anna, but like, how do we know that Jesus was the Son of God? And you know what? That's a fantastic question. So let's go back to our examples before. Remember, first, we observe what they do, their actions, and second, we listen to what people say about them. So for the past few months, we have been learning all about Jesus's miracles, which are the things that he did. And miracles aren't just like normal things that a human can do. It's not just like, oh, here's a cool magic trick. Like, no, they were miraculous things that only God can do. Humans can't do them. Humans can't calm a storm. Have you ever been out on a boat and it's been stormy and you've tried to just be like, okay, calm, and nothing happens? It's still insanity. I tried to do that when I was little. I tried to like calm things when I read the story of Jesus calming the storm, but I can't because I'm just a human. It was only God who can do that. It was only God who could feed over 5,000 people with a small little lunch from a little boy. Only God can do a miracle like that. Only God could heal blind people and heal lame people and do all of these crazy miracles. And we read about how Jesus did all of these things. So it's those actions that point us towards the fact that Jesus was God. He was the Son of God. But then second, we listen to what people said about him. Now, I want to clarify something. We can't just listen to everything that everyone says because humans aren't always truthful. Sometimes we lie. I've lied before. I'm sure you've lied before as well. So if you went up to someone and you asked, oh, what is that girl's name? And you were talking about me and they said, oh, it's Stephanie. Does that mean that it's true? No, my name isn't Stephanie. No matter how many people say that my name is Stephanie, that's not the truth. My name is Anna, and it will always be Anna. But that's why it's important that we go to trusted people and people that we know aren't going to lie to us about something to find out the truth. So if you went to my mom and asked, oh, what is your daughter's name again? And she said, oh, it's Anna, because my mom's not going to lie about what my name is. I'm her daughter, and I trust her. And, you know, I'm sure she's lied about other things before because she's a human and she makes mistakes, but she's not going to lie about something like that. And so we have to go to a trusted person. So when it comes to Jesus, we can't just believe everything that the people were saying about him, because some people thought that he was a prophet. Some people thought he was just a cool guy that did good things for people. Some people thought that he was a liar and that he was terrible and he wasn't good and he wasn't from God. But if we go to a trusted person who is perfect and always tells the truth, then we know we can believe what they say. And the only person who is perfect and always tells the truth is God. God the Father in this story talks about Jesus. When Jesus was standing there glowing and showing his glory with Elijah and Moses, then it says that this cloud appeared above him, and from the cloud came God's voice, and it says, "This is my son with whom I am well pleased." So it was God saying, this man right here that you're wondering who he is the Son of God. And we know that God cannot lie, so that is the truth. Jesus really is the Son of God. And so we know that Jesus is the Son of God because we observe the things that he did and we listen to a trusted person about who he said he was. So I really hope and pray that you believe that Jesus really is the Son of God, because you know what? If he truly was the Son of God, that means that when he died on the cross and rose again, he defeated death and he is able to give us eternal life, and that we can one day be with him in heaven forever, which I think is going to be super cool to meet him, just like the disciples got to be with him in person and watch him reveal his glory. And so speaking of revealing his glory, that is what our question from kids video is about today, talking just a little bit more about glory and what that means. So we're going to end today off with our questions from kids. Thanks again for joining us, and I will hopefully see you next week. Bye, guys.
Hi there, I'm Pastor Brian, and it's time for Questions from Kids. Mackenzie from Bloomfield, New Mexico asks,
What is God's glory?
You know, Mackenzie, God's glory actually has kind of two different ideas to it. The first one is this. The Bible speaks of God's glory as His presence. It's often described as a bright light, a brilliant light. I think of Moses back in the book of Exodus where he asks to see God's glory, and God shows him just this bright light and so forth. And Moses, when he comes off of the mountain after getting the Ten Commandments, the Bible says his face shone brightly. Moses' face shone brightly because he was in the presence of God, and it was God's glory being revealed through him. And so that's one aspect. But the greater aspect is this. It's just basically who God is. God's glory is His character. It's how great He is. That's what glory means, this brilliance. That's why bright light is often used as the Bible to describe it, because God, who He is so great, so brilliant. And so we think about God's characteristics, His attributes. We think about how loving He is, how gracious He is, how merciful, how just He is. And we think about these different attributes and who He is, how He acts, and it helps us understand who He is, and we love Him because of it. Here's the thing. When we encounter God's glory, the result should be that we should be in awe of God. We should be drawn to Him and think, man, you are amazing, God. And then what we want to do is we want to share God with others so that they can reach the same conclusion. That's what it means when we glorify God. We don't add anything to Him. We simply share Him with others so that they can join in sitting or staying in awe of God and saying, man, God is fantastic. He's amazing. And we recognize God for who He is, our greatest treasure, our greatest joy. So really, God's glory is about that. It's about who He is, what He's done, and how amazing He is. So a question for you is this: how can we show others God's glory by how we live?